It is finally time to take a closer look at the newest Season 27, which is coming live soon. In this guide I'll share with you what class to pick for an efficient start based on starter sets, how well it performs in different activities, and how fast can you make a proper build from it. After some PTR testings, patch notes, analysis and starter sets observations, I give you my personal list of the best classes to start this new season in Diablo 3. Please keep in mind that this video is not intended for endgame progression and it only covers the beginning of Season 27. The ranking list is also based on the set performance itself and without any Paragon points distribution. You can also read my written version of this guide on my website, the link is in the description. So everything I mention here is my personal opinion and it may not be the same as yours. If you have any ideas, thoughts or questions, please leave a comment below and make sure to follow my channel for more Diablo content, reviews, edits and guides. Alright, let's get started. Hello ladies and gentlemen, Firzj here, welcome to my starter sets guide for the Season 27. In the new season, players will now be able to find a new crafting material called Angelic Crucible. This unique item is used to upgrade any of your items including weapons to the Primal Ancient, but the key feature here is that it will also add one of 3 unique powers to that item. 3 powers per class, 21 different effects in total. Reminds me of Season 24 Ethereals but on steroids. Cool, isn't it? And the patch itself has also introduced several decent balance changes that affect class sets, which some of them are present inside the Haedrig's gift. So basically, thanks to these buffs and balance tweaks, Season 27 is opening many new doors for different builds and playstyles. Anyway, it is time to begin with the actual starter sets list. Place number 7 is Crusader with the Rowan's Legacy set. To my sadness, this is probably the least popular set available for Crusaders, and for a reason. Rowan is underperforming in both key activities, Nephilim Rifts and Greater Rifts, and Blizzard has done nothing to improve this set. While this set certainly doesn't require many extra legendaries to make things work, it desperately needs more toughness and mobility. Without these two aspects, Rowan stays way behind of many other Crusader sets and other classes in general. His sweeping attacks can successfully kill large enemies and crowds of enemies thanks to the 6-piece bonus, but he is clumsy, the process of killing stuff is tedious, and he is simply not efficient for farming keys or bounties. Equipping Crimson set later on may definitely improve your toughness and reduce ability cooldowns to use Steel Charge more often, but this is really time consuming and is not worth your effort. So if you still plan to start your next season as Crusader, consider switching to a Khan set as soon as possible, but keep in mind that you will need at least 56% cooldown reduction to make it work properly. Place number 6 in my list, Monk, Raiment of Thousand Storms. This is another set which is probably not worth using at the beginning of the season, but don't rush to conclusions just yet. Raiment still remains in the shadows and nobody bothers much to push or farm rifts with this set. It definitely has some not so obvious pros and cons. First of all, you will have no cooldown on Dashing Strike, which will allow you to travel fast on long distances even when you have no Ingeom in your possession, but as a trade-off it will cost you 75 spirit. Secondly, there is another annoying buff which comes from 6-piece bonus. This set basically boosts your only primary gen skills and it is tied to one ability, the same Dashing Strike I mentioned earlier. You will also need to press this ability every 6 seconds or else you significantly lose your damage. Fundamentally, it is the same old Gen Monk which was used a long time ago in meta as boss killer, and it performs the best with a combination of Shenlong fists, same as in a Mystic ally pushing build but mostly for solo targets. It is also worth mentioning that Raiment doesn't boost your toughness whatsoever. For this you will have to rely on many defensive items like Unity, Spirit Guards, Endless Walk and Lefebur's Shoulders. Long story short, it is super mobile, but it is squishy and it is mostly for solo targets. I personally do not recommend you to keep this set for long and you should search for Sun Wukong or Inna pieces instead, because despite Inna being nerfed to the ground, it is still capable of dealing tremendous damage in mid-range Greater Rifts and Torment 16 Rifts. Moving next, we have Witch Doctor Helltooth Harness. Witch Doctors have not received any updates once again, so don't expect to hear anything new here. At least the next seasonal theme is going to shake a few things, presumably for Jade and our starter set Helltooth. Speaking of this set itself, it performs quite well in both Rifts and Greater Rifts, but consider it only as fun and lazy build to crush your enemies with your dogs and Garrux. Pet's AI still lives on its own, so you will have to reposition them from time to time. Toughness is also quite average, but Sacred Harvester and Lakumba Bracers can make things easier. As for extra mobility, Shukrani's module will come in handy. Generally speaking, Helltooth is a fun build capable of forming Rifts and Greater Rifts, but this set is heavily dependent on your pets. Without them, your Witch Doctor is nobody. And to make your pets stronger and your life easier, you will need to find these 3 specific items: Shortman's Finger for Garrux, Ring of Emptiness to amplify pets damage, and Mask of Jerem. The rest is up to your preference. Overall, it is quite average, with average mobility and average toughness. Don't plan to push top tier GRs with it, just enjoy the process. If you prefer to stay idle while your pets deal with the enemies, then this set is for you. And if you wish specifically to push high GRs, then consider trying out Mandanugu or Arakir. Unfortunately, Witch Doctors still underperform compared to other classes, but that's what the game can offer for now. Bones of Rathma. There are many interesting variations on how to use this set. Depending on your preferences, it can be classic mages built with Sight of the Cycle and Circle of Nihilus, or plain Army of the Dead with just as set pieces Fate's Vow and Bonds. What's important to know here is that if you have the right legendaries, it can be incredibly strong early on. It doesn't require many items to start dealing damage with mages or Army of the Dead. The downside, necromancers usually lack toughness at first, but once you make him strong enough, you won't need it, because enemies will never reach you. But if you prefer to play less aggressive, then Deity's Binding with any curse will be more than enough to stay alive. As for mobility, it is also not a big problem. For that, we have Steward Boots. It is considerably easy to find, and this buff lasts 10 seconds. In general, I'd personally recommend to play Mage's build for casual Rift farming, and in the meantime search for Legacy of Dreams ancient pieces with Trag'Oul just in case, because Trag'Oul has been drastically buffed and it can now easily destroy high tier GRs and has really high chances to be in the meta. As for Rathma's Army of the Dead version, save it only for pushing GRs. I'd say it's a great choice if you plan to actively play in a group, farming red speeds, playing as Z-Neck, or simply farming Rifts. It is also relatively easy to beat the Thrill Conquest with Legacy of Dreams Necro, so the choice is yours, the rest is some luck and decent items. Place number 3 is Barbarian, Wrath of the Wastes, probably one of the best sets for farming Nephilim Rifts, Bounties and mid-range Greater Rifts. This is basically a run and gun, also known as spin to win build, where holding just one skill is more than enough to be efficient. It is not hard to complete this build, but for that you would require a few specific items: Pulkathos Swords for extra mobility and rage gen, Bane of Might for 80% damage reduction, and Lamentation with Amboss Pride to apply a rend with each rear wind attack. And the easiest way to find most of these items is to use the cube and convert mighty belts and one-handed mighty weapons. As for the ring, it is only a matter of luck. I recommend you to look for Bane of Might as early as possible, starting from level 9, because on higher levels the drop table will gradually increase. Another benefit of this set apart from spamming rear wind is that you can play mid and high GRs without changing much, but for the best performance it is recommended to use Istvan blades instead of Pulkathos and Mortix Brace. Overall, this starter set is well paced, it is incredibly tanky with the Band of Might, and it is viable for the most GRs. This will also come in handy later if you are planning to play in meta as Z-Barb. Second place is Demon Hunter Unhallowed Essence. This starter set has not received any updates, but it doesn't mean that it is bad. Unhallowed Essence is a very capable and straightforward set for new and veteran players, and for a few reasons. First, the more discipline you have, the more mobile you are and more damage you deal. His mobility skills usually include Vault or Smoke Screen. As for the damage, any gen skill, usually Evasive Fire, and Multi-Shot, which has extremely wide area of impact. And secondly, it is super easy to complete the build and go straight to Torment 16 with these two important items, Deadman's Quiver and Young's Bow. The first one can be easily found by gambling from Kadawa, and the second if you roll yellow balls from Cube. Additionally, you can make and hold essence even stronger with 2 pieces of Crimson set and 2 rings Restraint and Focus. This set may certainly not be the best for farming rifts and bounties, as it requires discipline to skip large areas, but it gets the job done. Once you squeeze enough damage for Torment 16, you can start searching for Gears of Dreadlands, as this is another spin to win set which is very convenient for efficient speeds and pushing greater rifts. And if you aim for the meta, you can adapt these items to support DH roll, which is still 100% viable. In the final place, number 1 is Firzj, Wizard. Here are a few reasons why I put this class at the top of my list. Some might of course disagree, but I personally like this build even more now, because meteors now have no cooldowns and they drop each time you cast a spell. This opens many creative ways to slay your enemies, because it doesn't matter much what abilities you choose. You can literally pick any, like for example Blizzard, which nobody uses, Hydra, Wave of Force or Explosive Blast. Firzj basically can handle it with deadly meteors, and there is just one rule: to use 4 different elements to maintain the buff. Just don't forget to find Nilfur boots to boost your meteor damage. Of course, if we are talking about mid and high tier rifts, you would need to pick specific abilities and items for that, but still, there is plenty of room for creativity. Firzj has many build variations with Frozen Orb, Archon, Maniacal Meteors or Unstoppable Explosive Blasts. Basically, you can make a working build from anything you find first. Just one tip though, Firzj can be really squishy even against elemental damage, so I'd recommend you to find Halo of Carini and equip it as soon as possible. It is probably the best wizard's ring for damage reduction, which can be used across many builds. And of course, don't forget about Crimson set or Orb of Infinite Depth for additional toughness, but sometimes this may not be applicable to your build. Another big plus is that Firzj consists of 7 pieces, unlike all other starter sets. This makes it way easier for fresh characters to fully gear up within the first few hours. But unfortunately, Firzj is not universal, and if you plan to push high tier GRs or go full meta, then you should pick Firebird or Delseer. Both of these sets are now viable, and the newest unique powers from the seasonal theme can make them even better. Overall, Firzj as the starter set is pretty good. Obviously it is not perfect, but for the fresh start it is more than enough. High mobility, build flexibility, 7 set pieces instead of 6, and decent performance in rifts and mid-range greater rifts. Now before you go, I would like to sum up this video. Here I have included this class table which compares classes' performance. 1+ represents the possibility to run a certain activity, and 3+ mean that it is a strongly capable class. For disclaimer, I must say that this table shows my personal expectations and preferences, so it may differ from yours. As Season 27 also introduces new unique buffs for each class, then I assume that Necromancers, Wizards and probably Monks will have really high chances to dominate the leaderboards, especially in the new meta. Necromancer is going to be played as Trash Killer, Wizard possibly as a Boss Killer, and Demon Hunters with Barb for the support roles. Speaking of early progression, starter sets for Wizard, Barbarian and Demon Hunter have much more potential in finishing seasonal chapters than other classes. Here you can easily finish your set dungeon and also beat most of the conquest like the Thrill and Boss mode with ease. Avarice Conquest, however, would require players some preparations. Either kill enemies with the maxed boon of the Hoarder and gold fine %, or farm 32 bounty chest on Torment 16. Well, that is all I wanted to share with you. What class are you going to play in the next Season 27? Share your opinions in the comments below. I hope you liked this video and the information was useful. Please consider subscribing to support my content, and also feel free to check out my reading guide on my website. Thank you for watching and listening. Stay tuned for more videos. Have a nice day, stay safe, and I see you guys in the next season.